All right, good evening, Vicksburg. Let's start this meeting. I'll call to order tonight's Village Council regular session. It's February 5th, 2024. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a short moment of silence here. And if you would, Kristen, would you take roll call, please?
Trustee Fields.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Reister.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here. So we have an agenda in front of us, and I think there was some revision that was sent out. Does everyone have the current agenda? Mr. Mallory, were there any late additions? Hearing none. Anything this council would like to add to it? So we have an agenda in front of us. So what is this council's desire?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, support by Trustee Fields. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have an agenda tonight. We have no scheduled appearances and no public official appearances. Now is the time for citizens' comments on the agenda. If there's anyone who'd like to speak to it, now is the time. Hearing none, we'll move on to some comments that I have, and I'd like to, if you would entertain me on this. Fellow council members, after being present last Monday night and hearing Rick Holmes state why he was resigning from the council, I immediately thought I had misheard him. And I have since reviewed the video from the meeting and confirmed that what I heard was actually so. And specifically, Mr. Holmes stated in part, I quote, "The village attorney has advised council and committee members to no longer discuss issues with residents that are currently potentially in front of the village, or potentially in front of the village." Mr. Holmes continued in part, "I was directed to say I've been advised by the village attorney that I cannot discuss this issue with you." So I have significant concerns over Mr. Holmes' comments from last Monday night. Mr. Holmes, while speaking during village council trustee time in our regular scheduled public meeting, distorted some facts, misrepresented some crucial information regarding attorney-client privilege and confidentiality of the closed meetings. As an elected representative, it is our duty to uphold the highest standards of integrity and transparency in all our actions. This includes respecting the sanctity of attorney-client privilege, which serves as a cornerstone of our legal system. The privileged communication between client and the attorney is sacrosanct, intended to foster frank and open dialogue among council members, free from outside influence or public scrutiny. I feel that we cannot allow this misrepresented statement to go unchecked. It's imperative that we hold ourselves and each other accountable for upholding the principles of honesty, confidentiality, and ethical conduct. As elected officials, we are entrusted with the responsibility to serve our community with integrity and honor. Let us remind the oath we took faithfully, serve our community, uphold the laws and principles that govern us. Let us stand in continued dedication to transparency, integrity, and the rule of law that our actions have conveyed our commitment throughout the past 8 years. Together, we can uphold the trust and confidence of those we serve and ensure that our community has access to all the facts of the situation. I am proposing that a trustee initiate a motion to waive the attorney-client privilege concerning a letter authored by Village Attorney Catherine Kaufman on October 16 of 2023. If we receive a motion support and approval via majority roll call to waive this privilege, I will ask our village attorney, Catherine Kaufman, to be free to discuss the events leading up to and authoring the letter that was provided to our council and planning commission members. The letter, actually in itself, the discussion occurred within the closed meeting, and be able to answer some questions, appropriate questions from the councils tonight. My rationale behind this, waiving attorney-client privileges, is a matter essential for the transparency and accountability. The contents of the letter may contain information pertinent to decisions or actions taken by this council, and it is in the public interest to have access to this information due to this distortion on last Monday nights. I think one of the benefits of waiving the attorney-client privilege will demonstrate that the council's commitment to openness and integrity in governance. It will allow for a more thorough examination of the issues discussed in the letter and foster trust within the community and clarify the record of the events that led up to the closed session meeting, the letter itself, and the justification behind these actions. So if there is a council member present who desires to make such a motion, let it be heard now.
I'll make such a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Fields. We'll do a roll call, please. Christian?
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. So be it known that we will release all the transcripts and the letter that our attorney, Ms. Kaufman, had put out to us. And she is here with us tonight. If you would, this would be the time if you have any questions or, thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Good evening. Can I make some preliminary comments? As stated, of course, it's really important that we are all aware of the confidential nature of attorney-client privilege communications. That's one reason to go under the Open Meetings Act that we can go into a closed session is if I provide a written legal opinion, we can go into a closed session to discuss that. That's what we did on the meeting, and I don't remember the date of the meeting. But to back up, first of all, the comments last Monday night by former council member Holmes violated the Open Meetings Act because he revealed in a public meeting what was discussed in closed session. He specifically cited what was discussed in closed session, and he talked about it in a little bit of detail. Okay, thank you. So that concerns me greatly. It's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. He discussed in public some of the issues that we discussed in closed session, so that's very concerning. Secondly,
They can't hear us on YouTube.
nobody can hear
I
me?
apologize.
Okay. Okay, where else? Okay, so start over again. All right. Sorry about that. I didn't turn the mic on. As the village attorney, after I was asked to watch some of the meeting from last Monday night, I saw that former council member Holmes revealed information that was discussed in closed session. As we all understand, the nature of a closed session, attorney-client privilege, confidentiality, that was to stay within the room that night. As you all remember, either I collected your memos back from you or Christian took them for the minutes, the closed session minutes. Nobody walked out of that room, and maybe one person did have the memo, but everyone was advised to keep it confidential. Last Monday night, that confidentiality was breached when it was discussed at a public meeting by former council member Holmes. That is a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Whether or not that would be actionable, that would be up to, you have your village police department, there's a county prosecutor, that could be considered. But the larger issue is, we have now shared with the world some of the confidential discussion that we had at that council meeting. I don't remember the date of the meeting, but my legal opinion was dated October 16th. But to take a step back from that, the way this issue first came to me, and the issue being decision makers, council people or planning commissioners who are going to render a decision on an application, how should they be conducting themselves before they get that formal application at a meeting? All that kind of discussion should be held at a public meeting. Of course, people, as a member of the voting body, you have your own opinions, but those really need to be kept to yourself until you go to a public meeting. This was first brought to my attention in an email I received from the village manager back on September 25th. He forwarded to me an email from Councilmember Holmes that he got that day that was referenced, and it was to Jim Mallory, blind copy to council trustees and planning commission members. Please do not respond all, which was good, because if you respond all, could be a decision that would violate the OMA. But it talks about a standalone Big B kiosk. Here are photos taken of a Big B drive-in that's located at Myers on West Main. It's my understanding in reviewing the site plans that the kiosk will be similar to this one. Below is a link to the Big B's website with additional information. Some of us have been approached by residents or business owners regarding this potential business, and I've instructed those who contacted me to voice their opinion, etc. By sharing this, and so this was forwarded to me and asked me to comment on, should council members or planning commission members, decision makers, be cycling this type of information around ahead of time. We're also going to waive, I'm assuming, because this email I wrote on September 25th was the basis of the October 16th report, so I would imagine that waiver also includes this email. But it talks about, I am concerned that the email below indicates the decision maker is not neutral and has perhaps already made a decision on this application, which had not even been submitted or had not been before the Planning Commission yet. Additionally, that he is spreading information to other decision makers with arguably the intention of influencing the decisions outside of a public meeting, which could rise to the level of Open Meetings Act violation, especially if a lot of emails keep circulating. Now, he did say do not reply all, so that was very good. Council people, PC members, other decision makers should confine their discussions to public meetings, all right? And I say here, the good news is the email was directed to the village manager. And I want everyone to understand, if a site plan or a special use application meets the standards in your zoning ordinance, under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, it should be approved. So we may not necessarily like it, we may not think we want that, but if it's in our zoning ordinance and it meets the application standards or the standards of the zoning ordinance requirements, it should be approved. So again, I stressed in this email, it's important that any application be reviewed by a neutral decision-making body. Whoever's going to make the decision, they be impartial, they be neutral, and this is a requirement of due process. So, this is the email I cite in here, and now that we're waiving privilege, we might as well just talk about this. If this project went to litigation and discovery requests were made, that email would have to be produced, which could then conceivably serve as the basis of a due process challenge. It makes the village legally vulnerable to a challenge. Okay, so we had that email correspondence, which I thought was the end of it. At some point thereafter, the village manager came back to me and said, I've been advised that former council member Holmes is participating with a petition or somehow involved with a petition through the Chamber of Commerce that would be to protest the Big B's application. Well, now we're in a serious situation because we know that we have a person who's going to sit as a decision maker on an application is not just having their private opinions of the matter, which of course all of you do. You will all keep that hopefully to yourself as much as possible till you come to the open meeting where you will discuss whatever you want to discuss. But this now elevated it into a public support or against or whatever, opposition support of a particular project. So then I was asked to write the memo and come to a meeting and talk to both, and I talked to both. I don't think I was at the Planning Commission meeting. I think I sent the memo, but I did talk to the Village Council in a closed session. A summary of the memo, I'm not going to read it word for word, but essentially the summary of the memo talks about, please allow this memo to convey my concerns regarding the legality of some Planning Commission or Village Council members' comments about anticipated or pending land use applications. I have been advised of comments made publicly by Planning Commission members or Village Council members about the Big B site plan or the Homestead and Centennial site condominium applications. And then I talk about, again, why this could make the village legally vulnerable to a challenge against whatever decision is made on these projects or others, if this was to happen. I talk about what due process is. I talk about substantive due process and procedural due process. Procedural is the easiest to understand because it is about the procedure, how you hold the meetings. It generally has to deal with notice and opportunity to be heard. And in the zoning realm, the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act explains that to us. We publish notice in the newspaper 15 days ahead. We mail it out to everybody within 300 feet. We hold a public hearing. But the second component of that is the neutral decision-making body. All right, so when you actually get to the meeting, the notice has been produced, everybody knows, they come to the public hearing, you hold the public hearing, you close the public hearing. Now the decision makers are going to deliberate. If I have a decision maker who is not only not impartial, they're against it, they're for it, but they've publicly gone on record out in the public in one position or another, it absolutely could be seen as damaging that decision, whatever decision is made. All right, so my memo talks about that. I had been advised that planning commissioners or village council members have said in public that they will not approve the Bigby site plan because there are already other coffee shops in the village, or that they will not support Homestead Centennial because the lots are very small and maybe not what they would want to see. And I note that statements like these clearly indicate the decision makers are not impartial and have probably made up their minds regarding this application. It is critical to the legal defensibility of the land use decision that it is made in an open public meeting. So, like you are here tonight. Planning commissioners and village council members should not meet with applicants or otherwise engage in discussion regarding the applications outside of a public meeting. This behavior can lead to the appearance that they have predetermined a decision prior to the public meeting, or they may not be impartial. It is not far from that conclusion to one that a procedural due process violation has occurred even before the village council or the planning commission even meet to review that application, all right? A general understanding of due process then dictates that there should be no ex parte contact by decision makers in the field or elsewhere. And ex parte means me talking to somebody out in this neighborhood, or I go to a site visit and somebody wants to tell me something. Of course, we like to draw a bright line rule that we don't have it at all, but we know in real life, people are gonna come up and talk to you, okay? They're gonna say something to you. And this is where my comment in the closed session was, well, if they keep bothering you, then the easiest thing to say is, the village attorney told me I can't talk to you, okay? It was not an absolute ban against anyone talking to anybody. It was a way to get yourself out of that kind of situation if you needed to. So we don't like to have ex parte contact out to anybody in the community. We recommend against it, but if the memo goes on to say, if it unavoidably occurs, then you should come back and report that conversation to the rest of the decision-making body. So, you're at church, somebody comes up to you and says, I'm really against that application for a wind turbine project. I want you to make sure that everyone knows about that, or I don't want it because of the sound or the light. You need to say, well, the best thing to do is for you to send an email to the Planning Commission, come to the Planning Commission public hearing. I can't do that, I have to work that night. Okay, you can email, but I will report your comments or your opinions to the full Planning Commission. All right, you come back so that everybody on the decision-making body has the same information. And that's what it says in this memo. And I think we all remember we kind of discussed that in closed session. So this is not anything new. It was there. I'm not singling anybody out. I didn't tell people they couldn't talk to their neighbors. I'm trying to protect whatever decision comes out of the Planning Commission or the Village Council, the legality of it. I think, and then we talk about substantive due process, which is, a little bit more that your ordinance has to reasonably advance a governmental purpose in a reasonable way. The important part there is we do have the doctrine of unconstitutional conditions, so we have to be careful what conditions we put on approvals. They have to be reasonably related. They cannot be too far afield. And there's a lot of U.S. Supreme Court case law on what is and what's too much and what isn't, but that's just the idea. So I generally recommend here at the end that the zoning administrator handle all interactions with the applicants. That person is an employee of or a contractor of the village. That way there isn't a planning commissioner out in the field or a council member talking to somebody. And lastly, I talk about the presumption of validity in zoning decisions. It is well understood that you as a municipality, your zoning decisions are presumed to be valid and correct. All right, so we generally, all of our decisions, our ordinances are presumed to be correct and valid. If we make a mistake in the process by having an impartial decision-making body or talking to somebody outside, we run the risk of forfeiting our presumption of validity, all right? So generally, our decisions are going to be upheld by law unless we do something wrong that would overturn that presumption. And as the municipality, of course, we don't want to do that. So that's what the essence of this memo was. It wasn't that you cannot talk to the people that you represent. It wasn't that you can't have your own opinions. It was essentially for the purposes of the legal defensibility of whatever decisions you're going to make, try to avoid having conversations with the public other than to say, you know, please submit your comments to the Planning Commission, either in writing or attend the public hearing. If you can't do that and you're bound and determined to tell me this while we stand and watch our kids play soccer, I'm going to take it back to the entire Planning Commission so everyone hears your concerns. And if you have personal opinions about the application, please keep those to yourself until you come to the public meeting, at which time then please discuss them and make them known so you can all deliberate together. So that's the summary of what we discussed in closed session. I don't think it's surprising any of you because I think most or if not all of you were there. If you have any questions about this, I'm happy to answer it. But I wanted to, you know, I'm very concerned, of course, when anyone releases anything that was discussed in closed session. We generally don't recommend that we waive attorney-client privilege and release something like this. But because of the statements that were made last week, I think the council at least felt that it was important to do so.
Indeed. Is there any questions of Ms. Kaufman?
Okay,
I think we all got it.
all right, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
if there are ever any questions, you can, through Mr. Mallory, or contact me directly, I'll be happy to answer them, so there's no confusion about what, you know, my recommendations are. Thank you.
Thank you. So that moves us to our general consent agenda. And Ms. Kaufman, I don't mean to presume, but if you are certainly welcome to leave. Well, that would be I thank you for changing your plans and joining us tonight. That was much appreciated. Thank you. Thanks. So we have a general consent agenda in front of us, the minutes from our special meeting from January 29, 2024, minutes from our regular council meeting on January 29 at 7 p.m., warrant reports, quarterly amendments, general fund, major streets, local streets, and event requests for Bella's Open House. There was no correspondence. Entertain a motion, or if there's any corrections to the what was captured in the agenda, please say so.
Trustee Wagner, so moved.
Trustee Reister, support.
Motion made by Trustee Wagner, supported by Trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please, Kristen.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. And we have action items in front of us tonight, and I'll let Jim kick it off with the hazardous household waste program.
Yes, this is a yearly program we've been involved in for quite some time, and this is a formal approval. Staff is recommending a motion, support, and roll call for approval to budget $2,500 as a portion of Vicksburg's commitment to this program for Vicksburg residents to participate in. Kalamazoo County is contributing $1,215 to the total. So for Village of Vicksburg residents, the total will be $3,715. And again, I stress that is for Village of Vicksburg residents. There's sometimes some confusion, but because addresses, school systems and that, but you have to be a resident within the village to participate under the village's side of this. So we are recommending the motion, support, and a roll call vote. I will highlight, if people ask, the $2,500 is a limit that the village manager can approve, but per the county request, they would like to see support from the council.
Mr. President, so moved. Trustee Wagner, support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, support by Trustee Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We next have a motion by the staff, and I'll let Jim get into that.
Yes, and this is under 11B, which is a duplicate under 11F, so we won't need to do 11F. But 11B is, staff has recommended, this is a yearly letter of engagement to receive engineering services from Prine Newhoff, our engineering firm. And this can, recommending a motion, support, roll call vote to approve the village manager to sign that engineering service letter of engagement for the calendar year 2024.
Trustee Reister, so moved. Trustee Fields, support.
Motion made by Trustee Reister, support by Trustee Fields. Would you do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. We kind of threw this on last minute with the departure of our former trustee, and I'm certainly open to further discussion, but as it says tonight, we have a lot of things in front of us, so I've asked Trustee Fields to temporarily take the committee assignment for the Planning Commission, so I'm leaving it open. There's others I want to talk to, but she and I have had this discussion earlier, and she's agreed to take it on temporarily. So if I would like to have motion or support, motion to support.
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller and support by Trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please, Kristen.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. And I will, on that note, be reaching out to all of us in the next couple of weeks to talk about committee appointments through the year. So if you have something you want to be involved in, this is the time for us to discuss it. So thank you for that. So, Jim, we have Angels Crossing tree removal on the agenda.
Yes, this is, we had discussed the need to remove some trees. We're talking about a limited number of trees on golf holes within the golf property, specifically holes in the 3 and 7 area, hole number 8, 17, and 18. So staff's recommending a motion, support, and roll call approval for the village manager to enter into a contract with Roman's Reliable Tree Service for tree removals to improve the golf course conditions in an amount not to exceed $29,000. This will be golf course revenue only, and there's some cash on hand to do that.
Well, I had thought it would be nice to have a kind of a map layout, kind of indicating where those are at. And I know that's, I know in talking with Bob, the manager out there, and the need for it, talking with other golfers out there that talk about those holes and how they're impacted, but not being a player, it's kind of, I don't have it in my mind, the effect of what's happening out there. And
There are holes where we've indicated 3 and 7, we put an additional porta potty. It's an exchange area. It's in the back of the 3rd green, between the 3rd green and 7th green, completely on the course. You can't even see that area from any road or residential. That's to thin some trees to be able to get the grass to grow with proper wind circulation, air circulation, as well as penetration of sunlight to get the proper conditions for the green itself, and just off the green to have better grass growing for fairways, rough, and the green itself. The 8th is Up near the green, we had one tree, I believe it was last season, within the last 2 seasons, fall and hit the green. So there's some trees that have been identified on the 8th green area and coming back a little bit as we go from tee box to green on the right side. On 17 is a par 5. It would be in back of the green as well. And again, that's to impact the ability on the green, that it doesn't get impacted as much as it has in the past. 18 is a single tree. Anyone who's played the golf course will know it's a tree that is behind the green, does not come into play, but the root system has truly destroyed the cart path in that area, and it's between the cart path and the river. So on 18, it's that single tree to be removed, and then the next request involves cart path, so that cart path would be permanently repaired, and we don't have to worry about the roots upending that cart path. But that tree could be seen by the clubhouse, but in possibly Mr. Adams' house, but all other trees that we're talking about are strictly contained to the golf course. The playability of the golf course, and not even viewed from any residential or public roadway or anything.
Well, we have a request in front of us of staff to enter into motion and support and roll call, so I'll entertain a motion for that at this time. If
Trustee Wagner, so moved.
Trustee Fields, support.
any other questions or comments and discussion?
Yeah, Jim, is there any plan, say that tree on 18, you said it doesn't come into play, is there any plan on maybe replacing that with a less evasive tree at all?
No, because of the way the cart path comes in back of that green, really it's being removed so we don't have to repair that
Okay.
cart path.
Just question,
So, yeah.
thanks.
Any other questions of staff? If you do a roll call, please, Kristen.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. And I know, having conversations with the golfing public, and they were all, I think they even wanted to take some more down, but we worked them down to just an area that impacted the playability of the course. And
Yeah, we're very confident that within a season or two, people will see what these areas will grow into and see the results of that. 11G will be the next. This is an ordinance.
Oh, how about the E? You forgot E.
you led up to it.
He's got burned fingers.
Yes, 11E Edward. This involves the cart paths I spoke of earlier. We've identified a 4-year plan to update, improve, and add cart paths to Angels Crossing Golf Course. We're recommending a motion, support, and roll call approval to authorize the village manager to enter into a contract in an amount not to exceed $65,000 for phase 1 of this project. We have identified a company out of Galesburg, and we're just gonna, I don't have the specific map of what the 65,000, I know the linear feet, but we're working with Tom Ham's group to identify where the best investment is to be made at phase 1. But with the weather and the prediction of the weather, the company's asked us to move ahead, and that's why we're here tonight to ask for this approval. We can enter into the contract and may attempt, our hope is to get the areas prepped for when the asphalt plants open up, that we can get the cart paths in as soon as possible and have the entire season positively impacted by them.
President Frisbee, so moved.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, support by Trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please. Or any further discussion?
Question.
Questions?
I'm going to get you on track here. Jim, you said phase one. How many phases are there?
For the, when we mapped out the entire area that the team was recommending, the low bid was about $230,000. So, we just, where Angels is in a very good financial position, as we learned in the audit, and we know the second half of the season, we just felt that this was an amount, a conservative amount, that people would show our commitment to improvement of the golf course, but in a responsible manner.
That kind of dovetails into my second question, was this is all being used with money from the golf course fund?
100% it's golf course revenue,
Sorry about that. Thank you.
yes.
President Frisbee, Jim, we're talking $230,000 over a 4-year period. So we're pumping more money into the golf course. It's their money, yes, I understand that. But there's been open discussion about the possibility of our divesting the golf course. And I hate to think we're going to keep pumping money into something that we may not get back, get the money back out of.
No, I appreciate your concern, Trustee Olson, and certainly valid. I do want to assure you that the team has analyzed what would be an investment versus an expense, and we're confident where the course is. This is an investment that if in the future other options were sought out, that this would add to that asset. And that's why we're proceeding forward with it. But it also fits into a 4-year plan. I might not be able to sit in front of you and say a full $240,000 at this time would be a wise investment, but I think doing the 25% level is.
Okay.
But it's valid concern, and I just want you to be assured the entire team, both here at the village and Tom Ham's team, are aware of that. And
Well,
always
I have
evaluate it.
total confidence in Tom Ham, so I like the way he's doing things. He's really improved it out there, but I'm just more concerned that, we're going to put money into something that we may not get our money back out of. So
Yeah,
I'm sure it's going to increase the value of it, but to what point? So that's my concern, but.
Yeah, that's a valid concern, but you look at your car, you don't know if you're gonna keep your car a year or 5 years, so you need tires.
Yeah, I understand that.
You put them on.
Yeah. Well, if I'm gonna sell the car tomorrow, they're
Right.
gonna have the tires.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
we're not in that position right now, so. But good discussion and comments. Any other questions of staff? Well, we have a motion and support. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries, thank you.
Yeah, moving to 11G, George, this will be ordinance 302. It's related to the lead line project and water main project that the council approved the village manager to enter into a contract last week. So it's a procedural step. Village attorney Steve Mann authored and prepared this ordinance to ensure we met the expectations of it. He prepared an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a revenue bond for consideration by the village council at tonight's meeting. The ordinance relates to the village's Phase 2 water system improvement project being financed through USDA Rural Development. USDA has signed off on this form of ordinance and has reviewed it. The ordinance authorizes the issuance of a revenue bond to evidence the USDA loan in the amount of $1,075,000. The loan will be repaid over a 40-year term with an interest at the rate of 3%. The ordinance contains the terms and conditions, bond reserve, and equipment reserve information required by the USDA. The ordinance and revenue bond are authorized under the Revenue Bond Act 94 PA 1933, and the ordinance may be adopted at the same meeting at which it's introduced, even though the village may generally follow a different procedure for approving ordinances. This does follow the state statute and was prepared by Village Attorney Steve Mann. It's a procedural step in being able to receive those funds from the USDA on that project. And again, the project is a water main lead line project that we anticipated being about a $3.1 million project. Came under bid by, I think it was 400,000, and it has already been factored into the calculation of water rates, et cetera.
President Frisbee, so moved.
Trustee Reister, support.
We have a motion and support. We have any further discussion or questions of staff?
Yeah, President Frisbee, just reminder, this was what we voted on last week, as far as, because we got, Jim, correct me, didn't we get funds from the Kalamazoo County on this project?
Yeah, there's a total $1.2 million grant we received from Kalamazoo County, and we have applied $300,000 of our ARPA money to the project as well. So yes.
Just reminding the council, this is something we did vote on last week, so.
Any other further questions, comments? If you do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. We'll move to village manager report.
Yes, I have put in within the packet a copy of the site plan review letter from McKenna, reference 402 West Prairie. At this time, the site plan is prepped to move to the Planning Commission next Monday night at 7 p.m. And we have also worked with Prine Newhoff Engineering and worked with the general contractor on this site plan to proceed forward, but wanted the council to be aware that it will be on the Planning Commission agenda next Monday and presented to them. We also provided communication from a citizen on the Homestead project that will also be provided to the Planning Commission. But be happy to answer any questions. We're still working some last minute. I don't anticipate any concerns. I do anticipate it receiving staff recommendation to approve with some specific conditions that are listed. Hearing no questions, I did want to inform the council that we have submitted a grant to the state of Michigan through Eagle in the amount of requesting $600,000 of state assistance to identify where the remaining lead lines are in the village. It was a grant opportunity open to all municipalities. The maximum amount our municipality could ask for is $600,000. We did ask for that. We should hopefully receive information back by June. But in attempting, again, with some time lag between council meetings, once we identify any type of grant opportunities specific to the unfunded mandate of replacing lead lines, we try to submit immediately on that. We are working this week and next week, different topic, but on grant opportunity reference assistance up to $50,000 through the MEDC on the updating of ordinances and zoning specific to residential opportunities. So we're also examining that grant opportunity, but wanted the council to be aware of that. Have an update on the fire station, the South County Fire Authority in the village of Vicksburg. We've had a long-standing lease. I don't believe that it's ever been modified, probably as long as the authority has been in position. But the fire chief had reported a minor leak in the roof. We asked Mike Frederick's team to take a look at it, give an evaluation. It's staff's position that the lease, ever since the inception, has put this responsibility on the South County Fire Authority for all maintenance and repairs to the facility, and there is a clause about communication that I know will take place. We will have that prepared report for the next meeting, which is, I believe, March 4th. And there will be conversations, or if we receive the report before March 4th, we'll be in communication with the fire chief and the fire authority to provide them a copy of the report. But we could anticipate where if there is a total roof replacement, that would be an expense, probably in the $150,000, $160,000 range. And again, that our position is that would be the fire authorities, but we'll wait and see the report. So I did want this council to be aware that that was being evaluated, and due to the flat roof, it's been tested for, I don't know if it's asbestos materials or environmental materials, and then also the condition the report will come back with. So that's been done. And then just to update everyone on the barn out at Legia Park, the farmhouse, that should be completely demoed by the end of this month. The project will start February 15th with appropriately getting the shingles off and then disposed of in the appropriate environmental way, and then a full demo on the barn. Again, it should be all down by the end of this month. So the last item I have is with the open trustee position, with the and it can be an action item if the village president desires it to be, but we will post the position by close of business tomorrow and be seeking applications from citizens who desire to sit on the village council. That following would ask that applications be submitted prior to March 4th is our next meeting. Then it will be the village president's in recommendation to the council, if upon reviewing the applications at the March 4th meeting, if there would be potentially a special meeting where public conversations take place with the applicants, and it could timeline out to have the village president recommend to the council specific individual to fill the position at the March 18th village council meeting, and have that person, upon approval, in the position. We'd probably look at scheduling a special meeting at 6 o'clock on the 18th or 6:30 to have that take place and have the person sworn in at a meeting at 7 o'clock that night on the 18th. But if we had applications by March 3rd, the council then would have the March 4th meeting to discuss. We could set a special meeting for the week of March 11th, and then have the recommendation take place at a special meeting March 18th and sworn in at 7 o'clock March 18th. And then that would fit with a full council to have the 24-25 fiscal year budget season.
All right. So we are open tomorrow. We'll have that posted on the village website. So we're open to meet with other people in the community that you know and encourage them to take part in this committee, trustee board, council. And we'll do that with the HR group if we get enough applicants. Well, if we have one, we'll get together, we'll do an interview.
Good.
And we can come away from there with our recommendations.
Yep. Sounds
That's, do I need to make that an action item or just state it?
Nope, we can state it and we'll spell it out on the,
But please do, if you know somebody, reach out to them and let's get that conversation going as soon
yeah,
as.
we'll have the application posted online that they can get, or they can call the village clerk and we can email. But if you are contacted by a citizen desiring the position, please direct them to village staff so they fill out the application. And then so the consistency is there. I would recommend that the council not engage in conversations with one applicant that another applicant might not have
Right.
same conversations. So if we can get the applications in by March 3rd, then on March 4th, you'll know how many people have applied. And at the March 4th meeting, you can announce when the HR committee, if it's gonna be a public meeting or private interviews and a recommendation, but you'd have that meeting to decide and have support of the council.
All right, very good.
President, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Gail.
Sorry, I just want to make sure that we are all doing the same thing. They can either do an application online, or they can call the village clerk, correct?
Correct, either or. We'll have the application that they'll be able to find on our website.
Okay,
They can print off, fill out, turn in to
Okay.
Village Hall, email it to our village clerk. We'll have that email, if they choose that manner.
Okay.
Or they can contact village staff, they'll be directed to the village clerk. The village clerk then can send them the application direct via email, can have them pick up here, but we would need to have it in our possession in March 3rd is a Sunday, but by March 3rd, the Monday at 7:30, the village clerk will, if someone dropped it in the Dropbox, whatever, would be able to pull it out, but we would know come 8 a.m. on March 4th who has applied.
good. Thank you.
President Frisbee, I suggest that we also put on there how long the term is for, and I believe Rick had 3 years left on his term.
To 26.
26, yeah.
Correct.
So,
And we'll do that.
yeah.
No,
Okay.
great, good suggestion. We'll make sure it's posted right on the
Yeah.
posting online.
Yeah, because I'm sure somebody's going to think it's going to be until November or something, and,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. Good
But,
clarity.
That's how Gail got on the council, too. Yep, we was through that special. And she went up against, Rick Holmes, and me, but,
Well, the process works.
Yes, it does.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for the updates. We,
I got a couple questions.
yes, sir, I should have.
Sorry.
Should have known.
Jeez,
Just what's the status with the old Village Hall?
The gas is being shut off this week, next Monday. It's actually the 15th. The company under that contract will demo, and we should, by the March 4th meeting, have that completely demoed, as well as the temporary gravel parking lot in place. They leave the asterisks, weather would really be the only impacting thing since the gas is shut off, so. But the company's starting the week of February 12th, and then heavy equipment on the 15th, I've been told.
Thank you, that was one
There
more
is,
question.
on that as well, because some people have asked, some of the sound, and if you're sitting in the chamber room or the echo, we have a company coming this Thursday at 2:30 to give us and to analyze that and provide suggestions. If people are watching on YouTube, the 3 windows above us will have blinds eventually covering that glare as well. And, you know, it's great to be in the new building, and now we're just dotting i's and crossing
Right.
t's.
Tweaking it, as they say.
The gremlins with the lighting will be fixed by then too.
I want to again highlight Andy DeVries over here, who's bailed, just absolutely super to work with. As you can see, we're down to the 3 monitors, all being controlled by the clerk, and working things out. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I also have it on good authority that people listening on YouTube can hear us much more clearly now in here.
There we go. Hear that, Andy? They can hear much more clear.
All my wife told me was that I looked like I was sleeping last week, so I have to be more conscious, so.
And just so you know, they can hear everything on YouTube. So.
Oh, no, okay. I will say that I had a resident today came to our new municipal building and had nothing but positive things to say, and I think the reaction was, wow. So we succeeded there.
Yeah, and it should be noted too, in case anyone's asked, we are still hopeful we can have the public open house May 18th, but we would like the permanent parking lot to be in place and at least the majority of landscaping, and we'll keep our citizens, but we're certainly going to have a public open house to allow people to tour the entire facility. So,
Any other questions? Hearing none, we have any update on trees?
Actually, we do. We are going to have a meeting Wednesday at 2 p.m. And I know that Jim has sent some information to our committee, so we will be meeting and hopefully moving forward on getting some trees in.
Thanks, Gail. Parks and Rec is on hiatus. Cats.
I think one thing to update though on Parks and Rec, if I can, is we did receive a quote for an opportunity that staff believes would be unique, and that is a rental kayak station. So we are going to have a conversation with the Parks and Rec committee as a group. We will be posting, I believe, an opening for that board to add a person there. But as part of the prep for the 24-25 fiscal year, we'll be looking at having some kayaks and possibly wakeboards. It's kind of the same concept as we've gone to other cities, and whether it's bikes or scooters, it's the same type of concept. It's used in quite a number of locations in Michigan and throughout the country. So I think that through Parks and Rec, good opportunity.
I'll speak to CATS, and in case anybody's wondering, CATS stands for the Kalamazoo Area Transportation Study. Seasonal weight restrictions in the state-wide are in effect. The Kalamazoo, the new road commission facility, will have an open house March 21st from 4 to 7. Downtown Kalamazoo parking, all the city-owned parking, is free for the first 90 minutes. So they're making an effort to encourage people to come down. They had their year-end audit report, and pleased to announce it was a clean report. The micro transit, I think I spoke of it earlier in the last year, and they're right now negotiated with a contract that works with Muskegon and Grand Rapids. They're going to be doing a 6-month rollout for an 18-month pilot program, but you know, what it is, what it sounds like. It's microbuses, smaller utility vans. They will still have the Metro for people that set up appointments in advance that need special services from handicap and whatnot, but this is a separate, I don't want to use the term, but it's kind of like an Uber, I would think. There's specific routes, but you let them know, they can look on a web, you can look right on their web and see, well, oh, they don't pick up here, I got to go across the street. And so that's coming, there'll be more information. And there's a major water main replacement at the bottom of Westnedge Hill, where it's going to be torn up for a while. So Westnedge, South Westnedge, just at the bottom of the Westnedge Hill, is going to be going underground main work, and White's Road is going to be down to one lane for quite a while, it sounds like. So that was just an update. I don't have an update on South County Sewer. And there wasn't a recent update on fire either?
Hey,
No,
Tim.
next meeting will be 2 weeks from Wednesday.
Now I know why you asked me to stand in when Jim gave the early estimate of a roof replacement.
Quick comment, Tim. Just speaking to sewer, Jim, how about that project on Park Street?
Yeah, thanks for that, Ryan. It's real huge shout out of gratitude for H&K who jumped on it right away, and should be completed, I believe, tomorrow. And that street between Michigan and Maine will have a gravel base and will be asphalted once the roads are. So if public in that area is just a little patient with the gravel, first thing that we can, we'll have it asphalted over. So thank you.
Thanks. That was the end of the committee reports. It's time for citizens' comments for non-agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move on to trustees' time. We can start with Trustee Fields.
Nothing.
Trustee Reister, or excuse me, Wagner.
Just skip over me, it's fine. Nothing tonight, Tim, thank
I
you.
wanted to make Carl feel a little loved tonight. So.
Someone else is getting it, yeah.
Trustee Reister.
Well, I do have a couple of comments. Number one, thank you, Ryan, for fixing my chair so that I can be comfortable. But also, I had the opportunity this last week to go into a second grade classroom at Sunset to talk to the children about my role here on the council. And I'm telling you, I had the most fabulous time. It was really, the classroom was wonderful, the teacher was wonderful, and she even made the comment, you know, you should come and do this for the whole school. No, thank you, but it really was so much fun. I really enjoyed being out there with the kids, so that is my comment for tonight.
And I want to thank you for doing that myself. That was, I was getting sweaty palms thinking about that, so. Trustee Olson.
I got a couple of things. First of all, I had to go to Centerville today. The bridge is open. Their river's back up. The bridge is in place. They have to do some painting and that. But you do not want to see that river when the water is down 3 feet. That's scary. I think that people go fishing in there and boating and all those trees under the water you can't see. That's a little scary thing. Friday was a busy day. I had 2 meetings in Portage and Matt Hall invited me over to the Pavilion Township Hall. I don't know if any of you got the letter, but I went, and it was interesting, and they talked about everything. There were 2 couples from Vicksburg there, which I was more than glad to speak with. And the big things were school attendance, how our children are failing in schools. We need to get them into school and get the attendance back up. Violence on the streets, not only in our community, but nationwide. And the border was a big one. Another gentleman approached me, and when we had the big meeting over Schoolcraft Township Hall about the roundabout at TU Avenue and 23rd Street, he is one of the people that's being affected. He's lived in that house for 15 plus years, and he has filed a civil suit to try and stop this project. Several of the neighbors are involved in trying to stop this project. He has been issued court papers They have not yet picked a date for a hearing, but it looks like this thing's going to go to court before it's done. And I put a phone call into Don Alsh today to see if he had heard any more, and Don has not yet gotten back to me, but I will be speaking with Don about that. This is, I'm sorry, it's a stupid project. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. And I've spoken about it publicly at that meeting and here. And I'm sorry, I can see a better use for taxpayer dollars. I'd rather see one at U Avenue in Portage or Sprinkle in TU. That makes more sense. It is my belief, and this is only my opinion, the reason they want to do that is because there's a cornfield there. And I'm afraid they're going to want to put a subdivision in that cornfield. So, but like I say, that's just my opinion. So, thank you.
Thank you, Danny. President Pro Tem Keller.
Well, I wanted to let the council know, obviously, whether you know or not, I'm the president of the Lions Club again, and we had our annual, they say kind of annual bowling outing yesterday at Continental Lanes, and had an awesome showing. Several local members of the community were there. The preliminary indications are we raised over $8,000 fundraiser that will go towards site projects in the community. And one of the things that we might look to do is purchase another camera for, it's called Project Kids Site, that we actually go to the schools, and we've been to the schools here in Vicksburg, and we free screen all the students to let them know, let the parents know whether they have potential eye issues that they need to go in and be seen. So we've done that for quite a few years at our festival, but we've actually gone out to the schools. So, but I want to congratulate the community for coming out and supporting it, and we had a lot of fun yesterday.
That's great what the Lions Club do for the community. Well, with that, I think I've said enough tonight, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. I thank you all for being here in this beautiful new facility.
So moved.
Motion made by trustee Reister, or supported by trustee Reister. Motion made by trustee Wagner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned.